The following recording is a production of Kickin' Out at 2 in conjunction with the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network and is intended for private use only. For more information, head on over to facebook.com/Kickin' Out at 2 or our Twitter handle @Kickin' Out 2, along with searching Retromania with a W on any and all podcast platforms available to listen to archive shows such as this and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. Evergreen content at your fingertips anytime at your listening pleasure. And with that being said, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. We are back in the saddle again here on Kickin' Out at 2 for our Dennis J. Levy Wild Card Watch Along for the month of June 2000, as Dennis has chosen ECW Hardcore TV from June 3rd, 2000. The other choices were the June 5th, 2000 episode of Nitro, the June 7th episode of WCW Thunder, and the June 8th episode of WWF SmackDown, but he chose the June 3rd, 2000 episode of Hardcore TV, VCW, the main event being Jerry Lynn challenging Just Incredible for the ECW World Heavyweight title. We'll have plenty to talk about throughout this watch-along here, but before we do all that, welcome back, my man. How are you?
Really good. We haven't done this in a while, so I'm really glad to be doing this today.
As always,
always a pleasure, always fun.
Scheduling conflicts, your work schedule, my work schedule, sometimes we can't do it, but, obviously I appreciate your flexibility doing these with me. I have fun doing with them, and I hope that you do as well, and I hope all of our listeners have a good time with this. So before we get into all the nitty-gritty, check out the archives. You guys have been smashing the archives, which I greatly appreciate, over on Podbean by searching Retromania with a W. You'll find this show, Kicking Out at 2, along with Marking Out the Days, Gaijin Wrestling Radio, Hulkamania is Dead, Cool Truth of AC, all great nostalgic content at your fingertips over there on Retromania, over on Podbean by searching Retromania with a W, or all podcast streaming platforms. You can find this show as well as the Retromania archives. So check us out over there. And the polls, too. You guys have been killing the polls, helping us with our content. Coming up at the end of this month, or towards the end of this month, we will be reviewing King of the Ring 2000 as voted by all of you. It overwhelmingly defeated the WCW Great American Bash 2000. So King of the Ring 2000 was the night that Kurt Angle won the King of the Ring. So that should be a fun show for us to go back and watch and review with all of you. So be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks in the streams. But this episode, ECW Hardcore TV, June 3rd, 2000. Just Incredible defending the ECW World Heavyweight Championship against Jerry Lynn in the main event. You can find that on Peacock by searching ECW Hardcore TV Season 8, Episode 23 from June 3rd of 2000. When I press play, we're going to have at it. I might turn the audio up every once in a while. I might not, but we're also going to be talking about some news and notes of what took place in the week of, that week of June of 2000 in the world of wrestling, and whatever else pops up on the screen and whatever else comes to mind. And hopefully you all enjoy it. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a countdown, and I'll press play, and we will be off to the races. So in 3, 2, 1, hit play. Opening here with Scotty Anton and Cyrus the Virus. Scotty Anton, formerly known as Scotty Riggs from American Males.
I loved American Males.
You know what? It wasn't a bad... It had like Southern Memphis pretty boy babyface tag team to it.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
That American Males theme was...
Have you ever seen the music video?
No.
You've never seen their music video?
I'm so going to look that up.
Oh my God. You have to YouTube that. Yeah. You see, look, he's doing the American Males clap right now. Yep. And there's Joey Styles in Paul Heyman's mother's basement, producing ECW Hardcore TV.
I have an unpopular opinion about this, about Joey Styles.
Okay.
That I used to love him back in the day, and I can't stand him anymore. I think he's way too over the top, and like he was trying to put himself over more than the match, and that
put really himself over, or put like his catchphrases over.
His catchphrases and stuff like that.
Okay. You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
This modern day version, like the modern day version of what's his name on AEW, Excalibur.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Excalibur, he tries to cram so much shit in And I don't know if he's doing it to get over or if he's just got some sort of like complex where like he needs to like get all the information out. But sometimes when they used to have him like preview like upcoming episodes of Dynamites or a pay-per-view, like he couldn't get the words out fast enough. And sometimes it would just take away from what you're watching. Or a guy would do a move and he'd be in the middle of talking about something else, but then he would, 35 seconds later be like, yeah, so-and-so just did a tope hilo suicida, burrito or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
It was just, sometimes I don't think like every single little thing needs to be, detailed.
Yeah, 10,000%.
Like I think sometimes the viewers, I think they don't, at least some wrestling organizations, I'm not going to, label anybody or single anybody out, but I think in the past and even today, some of the commentary, I think fans are smart enough to understand what's going on. Like you don't need to describe every little thing that is taking place.
Like
only things that are crucial to the story or what message you're trying to get across with what's on the screen.
Like I get it that ECW fans, like they almost had a gimmick themselves that they were the smart of the smart fans. I get that, but like Joey, you don't have to like dumb it down so much where you're insulting our intelligence.
Yeah,
I really at the time I fucking loved it. But now as an adult, I fucking hate them. Ugh.
So does it make it difficult for you to watch older ECW stuff as we're watching?
A little bit. Like I still love the matches, but I can't stand the commentary. I really can't.
Oh, geez, right here. Rhino with the pile driver from Hardcore Heaven, which you can find in the archives. Just recently recapped ECW Hardcore Heaven 2000. It was a fun show. If I were you, Dennis, go back and I got a homework assignment for you. Go back and watch the American Males music video. Go YouTube that.
I'm totally.
Okay? And then, when you're done, after that, go back and watch ECW Hardcore Heaven 2000.
Okay.
It was a pretty fun show. It goes like 2 hours and like 20-something minutes. It's not a long pay-per-view.
Because you said the main event was Lance Storm versus Justin Credible. I do not remember that match.
Yes, for the ECW title. Yeah, that was right after Credible had won the world title from Tommy Dreamer just a few weeks prior. Chili Willy. You remember Chili Willy?
No, I was reading his.
Okay, his tights. Okay. I don't really know who he is either. I mean, it looks like they're trying to portray him as a star. I mean, he's getting an entrance. They're letting him do his Chippendale thing while whoever this guy is in the ring, I don't even know who that is that he is set to face. But wanted to discuss some. Speaking of ECW, this week in the Wrestling Observer for June 5th of 2000. Is that Chris Hamrick?
You know better than me.
I believe that is Chris Hamrick before he did the like the Southern Rebel Flag persona. You remember Chris Hamrick, right?
No, I don't think so.
He was
he WWF? WCW?
No, he was ECW.
And he did a Southern.
He wore like the Rebel Flag, and he was like paired up with who would they pair him up with? Remember that guy Easy Money?
Yeah, I loved Easy Money.
Yeah, they were like a tag team. He wrestled Kid Cash a lot. I saw him in
redneck guy together. I don't remember that. Jeez.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, during this era of ECW, and you should know best because you talked a lot about watching this back 25 years ago, was they were thin on talent in the rock. Not saying that these guys here aren't talented, because I don't really know. Although I've seen Hamrick wrestle, he's actually a pretty solid technician. Not that I'm, experienced in wrestling technical capabilities, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. Anyways, long story short, because of the turnover in the roster, especially within this last year, I mean, Mike Awesome leaving as ECW champion. Lance Storm would leave ECW not long after that. They had guys with injuries. Raven's gone pretty soon, or if he's not gone at this point. They were going through a lot of roster issues, and they were trying to use whoever they had available and turn them into, significant players on their show. So Hamrick and Easy Money as a tag team, I mean, Heyman was able to take guys that other people didn't see something in, and he saw something in them and decided to utilize it. And maybe whatever he saw in those guys, he figured this will work with our audience. So that's just my rationale, my explanation for it. But let me go and discuss what Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer had to say this week, June the 5th, 2000. WCW has actually approached ECW with the idea about working together. It's something Bischoff and Heyman actually discussed a little while back during the Mike Awesome legal battle, with Bischoff suggesting they turn it into an angle. But Heyman reportedly has zero interest in being involved in the WCW angle and shot it down immediately. Heyman also insisted that he's not interested in selling a majority interest in ECW to anyone else, but he also recognizes that he can't compete on a national level without more economic resources and a stronger television deal. ECW's whole charm is based on being a small-time cult promotion, and that just doesn't work on a national stage well enough to generate enough money to keep WWF and WCW from stealing all their top stars as soon as they get hot. Heyman has admitted that ECW is in a tough situation right now because of the TNN deal. If Vince McMahon allows TNN to keep ECW, then maybe they'll be okay. But if McMahon wants TNN to exclusively carry the WWF, then they're going to drop ECW, and Heyman is well aware that that would be disastrous for the company if they aren't able to quickly land a new television deal. And so it was the case.
Yeah.
What's your take on all that? ECW eventually or possibly working with WCW? Do you think that's something that would have worked during this time period?
No, that would have been too many
cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. And they hated each other. I don't think
to this day, I believe Paul Heyman has some sort of legal gag order that he can't discuss the terms of his WCW lawsuit.
Really?
From the 90s. Yeah. Like he sued them and won, but there's some sort of legal gag order with Turner that he can't, and it's probably Warner Brothers Discovery now, WB.
Like, what exactly did he sue him for?
I don't remember.
Because I knew there was a lot of, what do you do when they're still in the contract, but you can't really talk to them? What's that called?
Contract tampering?
Yeah, there was a lot. I heard,
this was
WCW was notorious of doing that to ECW guys.
I'd heard that too, but I heard also there were a lot of ECW guys that weren't under contract. I mean, Bischoff has even stated that the ECW guys that he had spoken to were not under deals. There's a clip of Rhino pile driving the Sandman's wife, then goring Sandman and Lori Fullington through the table. These are highlights from the Hardcore Heaven pay-per-view that you can go check out in the archives on Kicking Out at 2. That was when, Scotty Anton turned on RVD, and then here, just incredible as the ECW World Heavyweight Champion. What we got here?
Diamond, Simon Diamond.
Simon Diamond
I have
and
no idea what that
Johnny
is.
Swinger.
Yeah, Johnny Swinger.
Johnny Swinger. They had a little, like, kind of, what would you call their pairing?
Just
Generic heel tag team kind of thing. There was no.
We just throw the guys together.
Yeah. I don't know who this guy is by the water fountain, but anyhow, ECW working with WCW. While for the fans, it would be, in theory, it would be cool. I agree with you. I don't think there would be anything that would benefit both companies from working together. I think the talents. Like if you put, let's say you take a handful of, now let's provide context here. During this time period in June of 2000, you had WCW programming consisted of the new blood versus the Millionaires Club, the new young talent versus the established stars like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Kevin Nash, and on the new side you had Vampiro and Kidman and Jeff Jarrett and names like that, and Russo and Bischoff were a center point or a centerpiece of that storyline. Adding ECW into the mix might sound cool, and it could benefit some of the ECW guys. Like if you put like a Tommy Dreamer or a Lance Storm, who eventually would go to WCW, just incredible, Sandman, Rhino, Jerry Lynn, RVD, like they would. I think that their presence on ECW programming, could help the product short term, but what would ECW gain out of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, would WCW talent appear on an ECW show? Like, how would that work? And like you said, too many cooks in the kitchen. Heyman didn't want to do it, and I think that it would make for a messy situation overall.
The only way I guess kind of sort of see it working, but then ECW have to play second fiddle. If you have that, what was that, Thunder? That have ECW be like...
If you put them on the Thunder show?
Yeah,
that actually might help, because the Thunder show at the time was like... It was their B show. Yeah, so not everybody appeared on that show. You didn't have Goldberg. You didn't have Hogan. I mean, Hogan appeared on some Thunders, but not all of them. You didn't have all of the top guys on... Sting wasn't on Thunder every week, you know? You didn't have those guys on Thunder every week. So if you injected some of the ECW guys onto Thunder, that might help.
But then it'd be like an admission to ECW that they're second to WCW. So I don't think Paul would want that either.
Yeah, I think he would want his guys to be, presented on a more even playing field. I agree with you. I do think that it would make for, I mean, as fans, we would all be like, oh my God, RVD on Nitro? We apologize. There was a slight technical issue with my software. So right now I have it paused at 12 minutes and 33 seconds. And when I say press play, and we will continue with this watch along. My apologies for the technical issue. So in 3, 2, 1, we are going to hit play and continue our conversation. Dennis, we were talking about ECW potentially working with WCW.
Yeah.
And, we felt it really wasn't the best idea. But at the same time, as fans, it would be pretty neat if we saw like a guy like an RVD or, a Jerry Lynn, a Rhino, Sandman on WCW programming. I think it would definitely benefit the talents involved for ECW. Anyhow, let's continue our some of the news. Speaking of talents, the latest on Raven and ECW is that he's not in any hurry to leave before his contract expires in August. Paul Heyman is trying to gently nudge him out the door because they don't plan to do anything with him, and he doesn't want to be paying Raven's large contract any longer than he has to. So Heyman's trying to get Raven to leave on a positive note, but if he doesn't willingly go, then it's expected Heyman's just going to fire him before then. If you remember, a year prior, Raven was working for WCW, and he was... Eric Bishop.
Nova.
What's that?
I love Nova.
That's Danny Doring and Roadkill.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So much Jesus Christ. So much. I watch ECW 2000 all the time. I know what I'm talking about.
It was 2000.
That is 2000. Yeah.
That'd be 25 years ago.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Anyways, Raven was allowed to leave WCW. Eric Bischoff at a talent meeting and said, anybody that would like to leave, I will let you out of your contract. Well, the terms of that release was that Raven couldn't go directly to the WWF, so Eric Bischoff let him sign with ECW. And until the remainder of his WCW contract had lapsed, which was, I believe, coming up shortly during this time period in the summer of 2000. Raven, ECW... during this time period, the last year or so, from late 99 to towards the end of 2000, what were your thoughts on him?
Very weird. He
Okay.
wasn't the same Raven.
Okay, explain how.
That like the prime ECW Raven was like edgy.
95, right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Tommy Dreamer stuff, the Sandman angle. Yep, absolutely.
He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He was collecting a check.
Yeah.
And that quite frankly, it pissed me off. That all those guys at the end if I heard the checks were bouncing, but like you could just tell a lot of those guys were just there, just I'm here, collect a check. And
Yeah.
Like the Rhinos and the Just Incredibles of the world, God bless them, they carried the ship, and like Jerry Lynn. But then there was some other guys that were just like whatever. I don't give a fuck. Raven was captain of that.
Yeah, I could see there was a difference in this version of Raven. I didn't get to see a whole lot of the original Raven character. I've seen stuff, later years on YouTube or on their library with the stuff with Tommy Dreamer and the stuff with Sandman, and it's really, really good stuff. But for whatever reason, that Raven character didn't really translate well over in WCW. I thought that there was some good stuff he did in WCW with the Flock, the angle that he had with DDP, even when the Flock disbanded and he was with Saturn, the story of Raven being the rich kid, and Canyon was like his little sidekick, and he was trying to get him out of this funk and this depression. And originally, from what I remember reading, there was a rumor that angle was going to be parlayed into a rivalry with Roddy Piper. That Raven was it was going to be revealed that Raven's hero growing up as a wrestling fan was Roddy Piper. And that somewhere along the way, Raven hit this bout of depression, and Piper, in his mind, is somewhat responsible for it. And he were to come back to like exact revenge on Piper, but for whatever reason they dropped that angle. That's the rumor. I don't know how true that is, awesome, but it would have been interesting to put Raven with Roddy Piper,
styles together.
Yeah,
I think it could have been magic.
I think it could have been some really good stuff. But yeah, during this time period, and then eventually Raven would go to the WWF, and we all saw how that run turned out. It was got as much steam as a fart in church.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think he started off good, but even when he won the U.S. title, you could tell the shine was off the armor.
He had the belt for a day, and then he got smoked by Goldberg.
Yeah,
and then that was when they kind of started the downfall of the Flock. Even his matches with
Scotty Riggs.
Yeah, they had who do you have in that group? You had Lodi, Scotty Riggs, Sick Boy, Horace Hogan eventually.
Yep.
Kidman came out of that. Saturn was part of that group for a little bit, and then Saturn became an enemy. And he was kind of like Raven's right hand. In that group.
Yeah, he was still one Jackson.
I thought that the Flock was some solid stuff, and I thought Raven was a good staple in the mid-card.
I was entertained for a while.
Yeah.
But at the end, I was done with it.
I thought the way that they brought Raven into the WCW was pretty interesting. He was this hot commodity of a free agent. He was sitting front row at a Nitro. And we actually did a watch-along of this Nitro, if you remember. It was the June 30th, 1997 edition of Nitro. It was from the MGM in Las Vegas. And Raven sat front. The main event was like the NWO against like DDP and like Luger. And I think the Giant, I think it was like Hogan Hall and Nash against like DDP, Luger, and the Giant. And Raven was sitting front row. The NWO comes out. All of a sudden, Kurt Hennig shows up. He makes his debut on Nitro. Raven hops the rail, and then they like cut to, they cut the feed and the show's over. And I was like, ooh, Raven feuding with the NWO. That would have been interesting.
That would have been
Raven almost kind of like this like dark brooding character similar to Sting at that time.
Yeah.
I thought that could have had some traction to
Sting,
it.
Like it books itself. The fucking Crow Sting with the Raven?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. That would have been amazing.
That would have been some good stuff. That would have been some really good stuff. What else we got here in the news feed from the Wrestling Observer? Juventud Guerrera ended up being sentenced to 2 days in jail and community service stemming from his DUI and fleeing police charges from a while back. Luckily for him, he won't be deported, which was a major concern amongst people within WCW. Speaking of Guerrera and Conan, both were injured on a spot in the match they had on the Thunder taping earlier in the week. Guerrera injured his ribs and will be out for a few weeks. Conan was thought to have a broken arm, but luckily it wasn't. The belief now it may be a torn tricep.
That's even worse.
Yeah. Conan, Juventud Guerrera. Guerrera spent 2 days in jail. It's not the first.
Is a douchebag.
I've heard stories about that too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, later on in the year 2000, he was fired from WCW for having a drug-infused meltdown in front of everyone in the hotel lobby during an Australian tour.
Oh, nice.
I guess he got arrested. He was like, took his clothes off, was butt-ass naked, and that's when WCW said, yep, time for, to cut the juice loose. So, yeah, it wouldn't be the first time he had a run-in with the law. What else do we got here? Oh. Vince Russo did an interview with WCW Live on their website last week and said a whole bunch of dumb shit. He basically said a bunch of stuff about how all the Hotshot World title changes are good for business and talking about how people pay to see The Rock talk, not to see him wrestle. It was a big topic of conversation at the Brian Pillman Memorial Show with the WWF and WCW wrestlers talking about it. The WWF feeling is that it just proves that Russo doesn't understand the business and proves how little he really meant to the overall success of the World Wrestling Federation. A few WCW guys defended him, saying Russo's just working the internet fans to get over as a heel. Meltzer thinks it would be fine if that was what it was, but Russo's booking in WCW proves he's just not saying those things. He actually believes them, and that's how he books the company. Meltzer points out that the Hot Shot title changes have made WCW's world title less than meaningless. And as far as the claim that people tune in to see The Rock talk, not wrestle, well, ratings prove otherwise, as far more people tune into his matches than his promos. So Meltzer's pretty solidly on the side of Vince Russo doesn't grasp professional wrestling.
Yeah, I don't think they ever been friends.
No, I mean he wasn't he wasn't a big hater, but let's put it this way: Meltzer didn't give Russo's booking as much hate as he gave McMahon and other people, and shared his criticism of their style of booking. But, this was during the era of, if you think about it, you watch this show, you watch Monday Night Raw from that era, everything was short. The promos were longer than the matches.
Yeah, definitely.
And the
NWO era, it was 90% promo, 10% matches.
So, for as much flack as Russo gets for his style of storytelling, and trust me, there's definitely holes and gaps in his logic. He wasn't doing anything that anybody else wasn't doing on the other two shows.
What's your opinion on Russo?
Justin brought this up once. He's got a place in wrestling history, let's just put it that way. Which side of that he lands on is, up to the eye of the beholder.
I think it's both.
I think his passion and his drive and his pursuit of seeing younger, newer, fresh talent in the spotlight is a good thing. And it was in the right place, meaning like he had his heart in the right place. But the execution of it and the support wasn't there for him.
I just give him credit for this one thing.
Okay.
It wasn't always entertaining. It wasn't always great. Most of the time, actually, I thought it sucked. But he had a story for everyone in the locker room. And I thought that was pretty cool. Was it fucking
everybody got a spot in the show.
Yeah, well, it wasn't fucking Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No,
but everyone had a spot. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think under the WWF machine, his ideas with someone kind of fine tuning and tweaking them was really good stuff, but he had free reign in WCW, and I think the whole point of putting him and Bischoff together was for Bischoff to kind of be that one to kind of reel him in a little bit.
Yeah.
And both of their egos didn't really work out, as we see Rhino goring the Sandman and Lori Fullington through a table. I watched that match when I was reviewing the Hardcore Heaven, and if you go back and listen to it, and I'll share my thoughts again. The match felt very personal. Their rivalry felt very personal between Sandman and Rhino. And you weren't getting a 5-star classic, but you were getting a very personal, very heated matchup between the two.
Yeah.
And I thought that helped the overall Hardcore Heaven show. That it gave you a little bit of everything. And that was like the more personal matchup on that card. After what he physically assaulting a woman multiple times during that match. Now 2025, forget about it. You You don't,
No.
you can't get away with that at all.
And we were just talking about this. It's not men versus woman type of thing, but even like MMA.
MMA?
Yeah, the women's fight, I get cringe. I don't mind the boxing, but like the MMA when the cuts and the pound and like, ugh, I can't take it.
Yeah. I haven't watched a women's MMA fight ever. I've seen clips of like, Ronda Rousey and all them other girls, but I've never sat down and actually watched. I mean, I'm not the biggest MMA guy, I've ordered a couple of them. The last UFC fight I ordered was a few years ago when Brock came back and fought that one guy, Mark Hunt, and ended up beating him. It had a room full of people here in the basement. And that was because of Brock. So that's a testament to, the fact that maybe MMA, at least UFC, needs to work on building stars. I mean, they keep relying on the same, John Jones, Conor McGregor, names like that. This is Louis Dangerously with the Dangerous Alliance, C.W. Anderson and
I love C.W. Anderson.
Billy Wiles along with Electrica. C.W. Anderson, very underrated hand in the ring, I must say. But I kind of dug this gimmick here with Louis Dangerously as a Paul Heyman cosplay. He had the look, with the phone and the lanyard around his neck, the hat, the ponytail, and then a takeoff from the Dangerous Alliance, which is one of my favorite stables in all of wrestling. I think it's a very underrated group and a group that had plenty of mileage that they could have ran with for such a long period of time. They cut that short, and it was very disappointing. There's some interesting quotes from this Vince Russo interview on WCW Live that I'd like to share with you, and let me know what you think here. In regards to the Sting-Vampiro feud, Russo claimed that Vampiro losing all the matches doesn't hurt him. I don't think anyone notices the losses. Your take on that? I
agree with that. That when you get like a guy Vampiro who's I'll call a main eventer mid-carder versus Sting, who's an icon. Win, lose, or draw, you just won if you're Vampiro.
Yeah.
So I agree with that 10,000%.
Okay, I like that. I'm kind of in agreement with you there too. Just the actual presence itself of him being a part of it. Yeah. As we're watching the main event coming up with Jerry Lynn and Justin Credible for the world title. In regards to titles changing hands all the time, he said, the reality is every Monday or every Wednesday a title could change hands. The days of a guy having a title for 6 months to make it mean something's absolutely ridiculous. Those are the old laws of wrestling, and that just doesn't make sense in the year 2000. A champion defends his title a dozen times on TV and house shows. For him not to lose one of those dozen times is ridiculous. What's your take on that?
I hate when they hot potato a title.
Correct.
I like longevity.
I do like some longevity, but at the same time, I also like every once in a while that unpredictability of the the title changing hands. As we see, the programming there was paused, at least not on our end. Looks like that was that was
bizarre.
Yeah, the ECW program. They had a long pause on Paul Heyman as we see Justin Credible and Francine making their way down to the ring for the main event.
For the record, Francine never did it for me.
Yeah, I get it. She's not everyone's cup of tea. She had a stripper quality to her. In 2000, I wouldn't say no to her. Let's just put it that way. If she said, let me ride you and sit on your face and do all this nasty stuff, I'd fucking sign up in a heartbeat.
I'm just saying, Dawn Marie, Sunny, Electra, that fucking even Lita, that I don't know.
Yeah,
no.
I get it. Not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, the unpredictability of a title changing hands, like when you least expect it, I think even during this era of wrestling, it's something that translates well on television. Like, here's an example. That quote about, title changing hands. From May 31st, from April 10th to May 31st of 2000, when Russo and Bischoff came on board, the WCW Championship changed hands 11 times in 7 weeks.
That's awful.
Okay? Jeff Jarrett won the world title. Sid Vicious had vacated the title.
He broke the leg, right?
No, that was later.
Okay.
Sid Vicious vacated the title to Eric Bischoff. A week later, they had a one-night tournament. Jeff Jarrett won the belt. A couple weeks later, Jeff Jarrett lost the title to DEP. Okay? So that's 3 titles changed hands. Yep. The 4th would come when David Arquette would win the world title and defeat and pin Eric Bischoff. Okay? Thus DDP losing the championship.
Let me stop you right there. You think that was a right decision?
Looking back on it, I mean, no, but at the same time, I could understand the idea behind it to gain attention.
I'm with you 10,000%.
Okay?
I like it.
The movie just came out,
yeah,
and WCW was trying to do anything they could to get people to watch their programming because they were getting smoked by Monday Night Raw. So I don't blame them for throwing that one out there. I don't.
I'm with you 10,000%.
Okay,
sorry. Go on.
I don't.
I need
your
opinion on that.
I mean, were people complaining when 7-8 months before that Vince McMahon won the WWF title on SmackDown, even though he vacated it like a week later?
Yeah.
Were people up in arms over that?
Really.
No, they weren't. Okay, so you had the 4th title change with David Arquette. Then at the pay-per-view in Slamboree, Jeff Jarrett would win the title back in the Triple Cage. Then Jeff Jarrett would lose it to Ric Flair a couple of weeks later. That's 6. Okay? Then Jeff Jarrett would get the belt back because Flair was stripped of the title due to a real-life injury behind the scenes. Some sort of, I don't know what it was. I think he collapsed like after the TV taping, so they dropped the belt. Okay? Then Kevin Nash would beat Jeff Jarrett. Okay, on a Nitro.
Yeah.
Not long after that. Did he beat Jarrett on a Nitro? No, he beat Jarrett on a Thunder. Okay, he beats Jarrett on a Thunder. Okay, and then a week later, Flair returns and he says, "Well, you never lost this belt, so I'm going to give it back to you." So they make Flair the champion because of that. He hands the belt over to Flair. Then later that night, Jarrett beats Flair for the title.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rubs me off the wrong way.
That's a lot.
Even if they did that 3 times, that would rub me off the wrong way.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
A year prior, Rock and Mankind had their classic rivalry. They hot potatoed the belt.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No.
Okay.
I really appreciate and I know it's going to sound hypocritical because I loved I appreciated the matches but give Mankind longevity. I'd let that have him drop it at Mania. I thought it would have made give it to The Rock at Mania. I think they'd earn that.
Yeah. I get it. I'm with you there. There's a few more quotes here. Let me think. Here you go. When asked about not pushing foreign talent, Russo basically buried them all. He said Silver King and El Dandy have no talent and that he's never seen the Young Dragons, even though they're a tag team that works for his company. He said the reason he hasn't pushed the other foreign stars, he said that in order to relate to American audiences, you have to be able to entertain, and you can't entertain American audiences if you can't speak English. When asked about Sonny Ono's racial discrimination lawsuit, he pointed out that he has pushed Norman Smiley, Booker T, and Ernest Miller. Said he defies anyone to come up with anything creative that WWF has done since he left, aside from the Triple H, Stephanie McMahon wedding. The guy writing this letter goes on to give a laundry list of examples. How does anyone still defend Vince Russo?
Yeah.
That's Vince Russo for you. I mean,
but I think Vince Russo had the point. Like as much as I love Shinsuke Nakamura, you know that I do.
Yep.
But I get why he flopped. The guy that when he does a promo, it's not his fault. It's his first language Japanese.
Yeah.
You know? So I've seen him in New Japan where the passion's there. He's talking. I don't know what he's saying, but I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard, man.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I understand.
Shinsuke, like when you go, like, how can you fuck up with Shinsuke Nakamura?
I mean, they're letting him speak in his language though in some of these vignettes, and they have the subtitles at the bottom, which is nice. It kind of, you can kind of sense a little bit more of the passion in his promos with that stuff. I think Shinsuke would be very, very beneficial of gaining a mouthpiece. Like, to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing him a part of Seth Rollins' group.
That'd be amazing.
You have Rollins, you have Bronson Reed, and you have Braun Breaker right now. If you had Paul Heyman talking for him, and you turned Shinsuke into this like silent Japanese assassin for the group, while you got Breaker, who's like their future star, Bronson Reed's like the heavy, Rollins is the main guy. You put Shinsuke as like their hitman, their assassin. I think that could. I think
I like that a lot.
I think that could work. I'd love to see him part of that group.
Yeah, I think he's gone though, isn't he?
No, he's still with the company.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still with the company. I'll be surprised if he. I mean, at the time of this, recording, he's still with the company. Who knows? Maybe he'll be, one of the other names that they let go of.
I still can't believe the R-Truth.
R-Truth thing,
that blew my mind.
Yeah, I was a little shocked at that. Not so much with Carlito, because they haven't really done anything with him.
Fucking guy just 5 days ago made an event in a fucking, I don't know if you can call it
Saturday
a
night's main event, against John Cena.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
I love that match too.
It was a fun match. Yeah, it was.
I loved the ending.
That show was fun overall.
Great ending.
The show was definitely fun overall. I'll say that. Yeah. While we're on it here, Just Incredible, Jerry Lynn, in the main event here for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. So before we clicked record, when I told you, when you chose this, and I read the details, that it was going to be credible main eventing Jerry Lynn, you had some very choice words about Just Incredible. Would you like to share that with our audience?
So people, the loyal listeners of the Kicking Attitude would know. Once upon a time, my favorite wrestler was Just Incredible.
Yes,
I am. I don't know. Proudly is the word, but I guess unproudly announcing that Just Incredible is no longer my favorite wrestler, because that outside the ring, he is a piece of shit human being. Fuck him. Okay,
well then, so detail or give us some examples of what makes Just Incredible a piece of shit human being.
He's a charlatan for one. He'll so he'll go on the internet, be like, buy my merch, and you'll be like, okay, I'm just a Incredible fan. I'll buy your merch. Takes your money. Doesn't send the merch.
Yep.
Fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep. T-shirts and the Aldo Montoya masks. I think there's some guy still waiting for his Aldo Montoya mask.
Apparently, oh my god, I just finally saturated my brain. I mean, that was hilarious. Anyway, according to the Maven podcast that he was on, he totally admits to this. That a booker would give him like $500. He'd takes the money, go to the show and be like, nah, you gotta give me another $200-$300.
Yeah.
You want me in the ring.
Yeah.
Like, fuck him.
Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think he is?
He's someone that can't get out of his own way, that's for sure. I've heard stories about, selling his merch and not delivering it, not sending it to the people that have paid. I follow him on social media, like I do a lot of wrestlers, and he's constantly trying to get his name out there, with the wrestling audience by, offering to appear on podcasts, but he wants you to pay him for that. And, that's a very like old school carny way of getting a payday, or at least, for a podcast, an interview. I don't recall. I mean, some guys get paid for it from what stories I've heard, but there's other guys that, they do it for nothing.
That's
just
how you promote your,
exactly. When I did the Ken Reedy show with Ken, we didn't pay, any of the guys that we interviewed. We've interviewed Tommy Dreamer, Chris Masters, JJ Dillon, Ricky Morton, a few other, Mean Gene Okerlund. Ken interviewed Mean Gene. I didn't get the opportunity to do that. And none of those guys got paid. Nobody, Tugboat, Typhoon didn't get paid. They came on because they were promoting something, an appearance, or they were doing a favor for a friend that, wanted to help us out. I would never ask just incredible to ever appear on this podcast. Number one, I don't want him in my house.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could do it through Zoom, but I don't really. I'm lazy when it comes to the technical capabilities. As you can tell in this recording that you're listening to, my software went out on me for about a minute or so, and I've had to readjust. And I'm just lazy with the updating of the technological world of podcasting. I mean, I could, I thought about maybe turning this into a YouTube show.
Yeah,
I've thought about it, but I don't know. We'll see. Credible there with the swinging DDT to Jerry Lynn after he takes a Singapore cane to the back from Francine on the outside. But yeah, definitely someone that has fallen on hard times. Credible lives locally in the Connecticut area. He lives about 35, 40 minutes from where I am right now. And I believe he's in the restaurant industry. He's a cook. He's a line cook somewhere. I don't know where he cooks. But yeah. Moe's. Yeah. Don't ask him for
worth that thing. Come on.
I've seen pictures of him online recently. I think he did some appearances. Yeah, he's gotten much heavier. And I also believe too he was at he's made some appearances for Game Changer Wrestling, GCW, which is like a kind of a throwback to the original ECW as we're watching this. Credible getting the cradle pile driver from Jerry Lynn. Referee knocked out. Here comes Dennis's favorite girl, Francine. She goes for the clothesline. Lynn stops her. Oh, there we go. Oh, I thought he was going to tombstone her. Nope. She's going to get a...
cameraman.
What are you doing?
Oh, wow.
Good old-fashioned spank-a-rooney to Francine.
I got to say, the spank with Sonny, that was like the greatest wrestling moment in history.
Oh, here we go. Yep. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Hard camera gets the cheeks. Oh, Credible going up. Cradle by Jerry Lynn. 1, 2, kick out. Calling the action here on kicking out at 2. These two have always had some great matches, I must say. My favorite match between these two, ECW Heatwave 98. It was the opening match.
Oh, yeah.
Great match. As Credible gets the victory here. Not a bad match from what we saw. We kind of talked over some stuff, but there's about 3 minutes left in this program. Let's touch base with some more news and notes from the world of wrestling in the year 2000. You mentioned Sonny.
Yep.
Okay, well, the Wrestling Observer, June 5th, 2000, reported that Tammy Sitch was pulled from Nitro last week after an incident backstage before the show. There's been a lot of reports that she was fired, but that's not true, at least not as of press time. But before the show, 2 other unnamed women, I think it came out later that one of them was Kimberly, found syringes in the women's bathroom with a vial of Nubane, which is a pain-killing drug that has become popular with wrestlers. Somehow it was traced back to her. Tammy was said to be in very bad shape backstage before the show, and others said she was in that bathroom for an eternity beforehand. She was supposed to do a catfight spot with Miss Hancock on the show, but after Bischoff was alerted to the situation, Tammy was pulled from the show and reportedly ordered to take a drug test. This, of course, ends with Tammy getting fired. To this day, she claims that someone drugged her drink.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one who's, let's put it this way, if Credible keeps up what he's doing with the drugs and burning people, he's going to end up like Tammy Sitch currently, who's locked up in some prison in Florida for killing a guy.
Yeah.
In an automobile accident, a drunk driving accident. No, he's not going
to kill a human being, but he's going to go in that piece of shit like bin.
Well, I mean, he's already in your piece of shit bin, according to you.
He's not in Tammy's Lin's piece of shit bin quite yet.
It's unfortunate with her because she was my girl. I mean, I have my eras, okay, and my golden age WWF. It was Miss Elizabeth all day long, and as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate Sherry a little more. From in terms of a cosmetically, sexually, looking.
Yeah, she wasn't scary,
okay?
Sherry.
No, she wasn't scary, Sherry.
No.
Especially after them stories Jake Roberts told at that comedy show about hooking up with Sherry.
For that. That felt like a fun day.
Oh man, dude, you would have loved it. And then, in the new generation era, it was Sonny. Sable was good looking. Don't get me wrong, but man, Sonny just had this like.
That girl next door.
That girl next door slutty quality to her. Like, oh, man. Like I thought as a teenager that I had a shot with her. Even though she was on TV, I thought, like, Yeah, like I bet you if like we were in public, like I could probably get that.
If you were in wrestling, you probably could.
I don't know.
Sabu said she was blowing the fucking usher. For fuck's sake. Yeah.
But yeah, she's another one that's really fallen on hard times. I mean, she did that porno. She's still in the WWE Hall of Fame. You know, Jimmy Snuka got exiled from the WWE Hall of Fame, and it wasn't proven that he killed that girl. Okay, he was unfit to stand trial with his dementia, and then dies, gets exiled from the WWE Hall of Fame. But Tammy Sitch has multiple DUIs, kills a person in a drunk driving automobile incident, and
she's still in that.
And she's still in it. Yeah,
I tell you what.
As this ECW watch-along comes to an end.
We all know O.J. Simpson killed a person.
Yes.
But I still think he should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. He was the greatest. It's like one of the best running backs of all time.
You think so?
I do.
Wow.
I think what you do in the football field, wrestling ring, what you do on the outside, I think should be different. I really do. Okay. Unless you're Chris Benoit.
He's on the exile list, 100%. All right, well, this watch-along has come to an end here on Kickin' Attitude. Dennis, I appreciate
a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Definitely going back, watching some ECW, talking about the wrestling world in the June of 2000. Be on the lookout later this month, King of the Ring 2000 recap for all of you that you voted for in the polls. And go in the polls right now to vote for July's pay-per-view recap. Now, Dennis, you might have a say in this because this is an event that you and I actually talked about doing a watch-along of this. I mean, this may be a possibility, but in the polls coming up on our Facebook page and our Twitter, you can vote for either WCW Bash at the Beach 2000, which was the night that Hulk Hogan left WCW for good, and that was also the night that Booker T was crowned the World Heavyweight Champion.
I actually like this event, low-key.
Or you could vote for Fully Loaded 2000, which saw a triple main event. Undertaker versus Kurt Angle, Triple H versus Chris Jericho in a last man standing match, and the main event, The Rock versus Chris Benoit for the World Wrestling Federation Championship.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I actually look that I know people always shit on, including myself, 2000, 2001 in WCW, but like I like that event.
Yeah.
Like in the promo, that fucking that motherfucker
Russo.
Russo. I thought it was brilliant.
Okay.
I really liked it.
Okay. Well, you know,
Hogan didn't like it, but I
no Hogan. Yeah, he didn't like it. He took it all the way to court and tried to sue the company for defamation of character, amongst other things. Yeah. So you guys can vote for that in the polls, whether we either watch it or whether we recap it. Probably just Actually, you know, we'll just recap it for you. Or maybe we'll watch it. Who knows? But vote for it in the polls. What do you want us to cover? WCW Bash at the Beach 2000 or WWF Fully Loaded 2000? You can find that on our Facebook and our Twitter page right now. So go vote in the polls as we speak. And that about does it for this episode. I had a good time.
Always a pleasure.
All right, my man. Let's wrap this up and put this one officially down for the 3 count. We will see you all next time.